Well, one of the interesting parts about you is that I started trying to think about it the other day. We've been doing stuff together sort of off and on since, well, the first time we did something was 1981, I believe, down at Robson Square. And that's where you impressed me because it was February 1981, and there was a whole bunch of people there. Brian Costello, Peter Cundall, Irene Denyer-Fraser, and Great Pacific Management. Everybody was there. About 60 or something different financial organizations. And it's the only time that I personally ever set a booth up at a financial fair or something of this nature. And I didn't like doing it, so I didn't do it anymore after that. But that's where I first saw you, and I can remember there was a room there, and I don't know whether there was 400 people in the room or 600 people. There was a lot of people in that room, though. And I'd done a speech about how you should lots of other things you should do instead of buying an RRSP. Everybody else was saying, "Oh, that's wrong. You know, buy RRSP, get your RRSP." And you got up and you said essentially the same thing. You should pay off your credit card. You should maybe buy a condominium. You should do all sorts of things because you were sitting there talking about planning, putting the mortgage and making the mortgage deductible, which of course
before you invest, maybe even before you buy life insurance or any financial product, the first thing that you should do is own the house that you live in. And if there's a mortgage on it, or there must be a mortgage on it, make sure that the mortgage is tax deductible. Those are your #1 priorities.
That's the deal.
That's where it starts. Then after you do that, you start saying, okay, do I have a good pension plan? Is my retirement looked after? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If it's looked after, then the next priority is, how do I establish some money that's not registered, money that's outside of my RRSP? And last but not least, if you do all this, you're going to become wealthy if you have enough time. And then that's your estate planning. How do you make sure that all these assets that you carefully
accumulated over the years.
How do you make sure you pass these assets on to your heirs without the government grabbing it all in taxes and without the heirs fighting over these assets, which happens a lot more than we like to admit.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about this next Thursday. This Thursday coming up.
Yeah, this Thursday.
That's
that'll be the topic. We're talking about
not tomorrow, a week tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow. We're talking about your unregistered retirement savings plan. The money that you put away that's not registered. The money that you put away that is designed for tax savings as you retire, as you deaccumulate.
Yeah.
But, you know, between now and retirement, your goal is to accumulate. Once you reach retirement, is to deaccumulate. And most people, after they retire, are probably going to live 20 to 30, maybe even 35 or 40 years. So they're going to be retired for a long time.
And I'm going to go and join the Seventh-day Adventist Church because I was watching Dr. Oz today, and he said the Seventh-day Adventist lives 10 years longer than anybody else.
Well, they probably
because of their diet.
I have a client right now, David. I have a client that's 106.
Yeah.
My grandmother lived to be 96 on my father's side.
You mean I'm going to have to put up with you for another 30 years?
On my mother's side. Oh, just wait till I finish and maybe you'll take that back. On my mother's side, my grandparents both died in their 50s.
Yeah, okay.
I had 2 uncles that died in their 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't know how long we're going to live.
Yep. If you tell me what day you're going to die, I'll give you a good idea what I think you should do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's an easy plan.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to die at 65. I'm going to retire at 65, and I'm going to die the same year. Well, I don't need to worry about money.
No, you got it. If you're going to work till that day.
Yeah. But what you do, like at this seminar that you talked about when we were, Irene Denyer-Fraser and Peter Cundall and everybody was there. At that very one, I think I got up about 4 or 5 times and addressed 2 or 3, maybe 400 people, big audience. And the first question I asked of the audience, I always poll the audience, I said, how many people in this room don't owe any money to anybody? Put your hand up. And very few hands went up. So therefore, I can assume that all of you people out there owe money, which means you're paying interest expense because you don't borrow the money free. How many of you have arranged your affairs so that all of your interest expense is tax deductible? Put your hand up. Very few hands went up. Okay?
Richard and I just put our
a
hands
few.
up. Yeah.
Then I said, how many people in this room want to be financially independent? Everybody put their hand up.
Everybody puts their hand up.
I said, how many of you have a written document called a written financial plan, a blueprint, which is going to help you get there? How many of you have that? Very few hands went up. Okay? So I know that it doesn't matter whether it's one person, 10 people, 500 people, 10,000 people, the percentages are still the same. Most people do not have a financial plan. Now, at that seminar, or whatever we want to call it,
Financial Forum, I think
Financial Forum, we had virtually every company in Vancouver that sold financial products.
Absolutely.
Okay? And then we have a room full of people, and none of them have a financial plan. And everybody's calling themselves financial planners.
But nobody's giving a plan.
That's disgraceful.
It was.
Totally disgraceful.
Because back then I was still a fee-for-service financial planner, and it was an intriguing situation because I think I was the first person in the Yellow Pages. If it wasn't me first, it was myself and McDonald, Shimko, Caldwell. I can't find the original book though, so they say that they were in there with me, and I don't remember that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We were competitors for written financial plans, and a plan could cost $3,000 because we didn't have.
Well, it took you a week to put one together.
That's right.
In those days.
We didn't have all the computers and everything going that you could. Remember 1981? You know, 1981, you barely had multiplying, adding, subtracting calculators out there that weren't $1,000. So it was amazing. We had VisiCalc.
I remember. That's Apple. I had an Apple 48K computer with VisiCalc. When I found that, that was my dream come true.
Yep.
Because that formed the foundation. I say this with all modesty, but when it comes to Excel and spreadsheets, I'm an expert.
You are. There's no doubt about that. You set up your plans and you do your
I
searches.
give credit to VisiCalc. And you know something, David? I never took a computer course in my life.
Yep.
Okay? I never took I went and I bought a computer, an Apple, and I took it home and I plugged it in. I thought, this is going to be great. I turned it on. I didn't know what to do next. I started pushing buttons and nothing happened. I had BPI, which was a accounting, some software I bought. I couldn't make it work at all. Then I put in VisiCalc, and I looked at that, and I started filling it, and it started to make sense.
Yep.
And then I realized in all those cells, I could write formulas that would calculate and so on. I thought this was absolutely awesome.
And then you could change one figure, and the whole thing recalculated in 2 seconds.
And that was in 1980.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, my
So I almost had a head start on just about everybody.
Yeah. My epiphanal moment was Model 2 Radio Shack in '79, and
you were a year ahead of me.
I had multi-plan,
Yeah.
and I can still remember. And this is nothing. I went to Tandy and Park Royal.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it, and a guy named Cliff Friesen typed in the things that he used Multiplan to make a bill up from scratch. And I looked at this thing and I said, my God, this is amazing. And
well, we had a lot of foresight there.
Yeah, Multiplan was even better than Lotus 1, 2, 3. But Jack 2 was better than Multiplan or Lotus 1, 2, 3, and it died. Doesn't exist anymore. Okay, Fred Snyder is my guest.